Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Savatelli. I am the Executive Director of RIA. We've got a very good crowd here. We're real pleased to see the interest that you have in learning more about RIA's settlement with ThermaPure, our safe harbor, and what this settlement means to you as a restoration contractor. Joining us this morning is RIA President Scott Stamper. Scott was elected president of RIA earlier this year, this past April. He's been involved in RIA since 2008 when he was selected to be a member of RIA's Restoration Council. Since then, Scott has served as chairman of the council, a member of the RIA board of directors, first vice president of the board, and of course now, president. Scott is also the president of Regency DKI, his restoration company, which includes 3 locations across the eastern United States: Michigan, Florida, and North Carolina. He's been involved in restoration for over 15 years. His company is a proud recipient of the RIA 2012 Phoenix Award, honoring their efforts as part of the integrated team for the remediation and restoration of the Detroit Metropolitan Airport Air Traffic Control Tower. Without further ado, I'd like to turn it over now to RIA President Scott Stamper. Scott?
Thank you, Mark, for your introduction. Thank you, Iris, for hosting this, and thank you to everyone who's taken the time out of their busy schedules to join us this morning or afternoon. As Mark was saying, there was a settlement reached. David and I sat down, and we really got a chance to know each other a little better. I got the opportunity to understand more of ThermaPure and what the really that there was some things behind this sanitization of heat, particularly to remove chemicals, the use of chemicals for sanitization. In sitting in the mediation, David and I quickly, I think, found that we had some common ground. ThermaPure is a sanitization system patented and which uses heat. That patent does not state a threshold temperature. My goal in going into the mediation was to try to find some way that RIA members could operate without worrying about violating this patent. And it came down to, as Mark said, four basic issues. The first one was to measure the ambient air temperature inside a structure. A structure is defined as the workspace that the restorer or the RIA member defines as its area being treated. The second is to maintain the temperature records for 2 years. Third was to contact that we tell RIA members to contact ThermaPure for licensing if they want to use temperatures in excess of 105 within that ambient air in that structure. And 4, refrain from advertising sanitization of structures with heat. It was very clear. It's something that we at RIA felt was a win-win for both sides, and we welcome ThermaPure as a vendor into the RIA system and selling its patented process. That's pretty much where we settled. We went to work immediately, getting some press releases out, and worked approximately I believe it was about 2 months. We had a team of people across the country with various experience in drying, put together what we had sent out a week ago, which was the operational guidelines. Those operational guidelines we felt were clear. We felt they were fair, and that is workable for our industry in doing what we do, which is dry structures without fringing on the sanitization side of that industry, and it gave us a threshold heat. That's where we are. So right now we're here to take some questions, I think. And Mark, do you have any other comments?
Mentioning the Safe Harbor Initiative, one of the things I think that most of the folks on the call will see is that you're going to see quite a bit about RIA's Safe Harbor Initiative over the upcoming months. We are hosting this virtual town hall today. As Scott mentioned, we have the operating guidelines that we recently released about 2 weeks ago. Those are available on RIA's website. If you go to the website and click on the Patent Settlement tab, the operating guidelines will be right there, as well as some FAQs. Obviously, we're here today to be able to ask some questions about RIA settlement with ThermaPure, but some of the more common questions we've had, we've also put those FAQs up on our website. So if you have a question like that and maybe it is we don't get to it today, I would highly encourage you to go to RIA's website, to click on that Patent Settlement tab and click on the FAQs, as you will probably find some additional information there. Again, one of the things that Scott mentioned before we turn it over, is look, if you're an RIA member and you're a member in good standing, you're protected. For those of you that are not members, and you're looking to be protected under the safe harbor, we will be sending out the link that you see on your screen right now to all attendees so that you can go ahead and join RIA. The safe harbor protection applies immediately upon activation of your membership, and you will be good to go. So with that, for those of you that are looking to ask questions, and we did have some that were submitted early, there are 2 ways that you can go ahead and submit your questions. If you are accessing this via the web portal on GoToMeeting, please enter your question into the chat panel that is in your GoToMeeting toolbar on the side of your screen. For those of you that are not accessing this through the web panel, please go ahead and speak up. We'd love for you to go ahead and ask your question. Just maybe take a second or two if there's some silence, and then maybe go ahead and ask it. We certainly don't want folks to trump one another. But at this point in time, we'd like to go ahead and open it up for what we believe is the most important portion of today's call, and that is being able to ask direct questions to RIA President Scott Stamper about the settlement.
Mark, before we take the questions, I did forget to mention one item. The 4 items that I went through was our best practices agreements. I think the strongest or the most important thing for RIA members is the covenant not to sue, which reads, ThermaPure covenants not to sue any RIA member in good standing for infringement of the 812 patent where that member does not heat ambient air inside a structure to a temperature in excess of 105. I think, that right there took us all a little time to get to, but I think we are comfortable and we have our operational guidelines that our members can be confident that as long as they're following the path, and if they want to sanitize, call ThermaPure. They've got that patent. So let's open it up, and I'll see if I can answer what I can.
Okay, great. Scott, can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly.
Great. So we actually had some submitted questions before the town hall, and we're getting some questions via the question panel. So why don't I go ahead, Scott, and I'll start asking you some of the questions that were submitted by some of the attendees. So the first question is, does this affect the terminology written in the S-500?
We did not do this with IICRC. IICRC, we talked to them about getting involved with this early on. They felt it was not something as a standards body that they was in their direction or in their wheelhouse. And so as of now, I do not think that this is going to wind up in the S-500. This is a RIA settlement, which carves out a specialty, for lack of a better word, exemption if you follow certain guidelines for the RIA, and it is not an industry-wide settlement.
Okay. Next question. In court, RX Heat has established that use of their equipment does not infringe upon ThermaPure patents. DrySmart has its own patent process. Shouldn't the safe harbor be brought in to include the use of equipment and or processes that have their own patents or have established legally they do not violate ThermaPure's patents as presented the safe harbor could almost give one the impression that ThermaPure owns heat drying.
I'm not a patent attorney, and I did not stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so I will answer what I can on that question. First off, the safe harbor agreement does not state what kind of equipment that you're going to use. It could be desiccants, dehumidifiers, any other heating unit. You could use the heater from inside the house. The settlement specifically states temperature within a structure as defined by the restorer. And as far as other patents, the RIA went into this with ThermaPure first as on the offense, and then we were able to sit down and create a win-win for both of us. So it really doesn't affect the other pieces of equipment, nor was our intent to try to carve anything out for any other pieces of equipment.
Okay, thank you. The next question, dehumidifiers put out heat, and heat is used to speed up evaporation. How does this affect traditional drying methods and equipment because they do generate heat?
This was a key factor. Yes, dehumidifiers generate heat. There can be as much as a 20-degree heat increase from the ambient air coming in to the air that it releases. The fact is that most of the equipment restorers use, fans and other pieces of equipment, motors are rated to about 105 degrees before they start breaking down. The 105 degrees was just not, was a negotiated temperature, but that temperature is also something that most of the equipment manufacturers have as a threshold for, breaking down their equipment. Dehumidifiers, I think you can, if you follow the terms of the settlement, desiccants, you can do what you do all day long to dry structures, and you can stay within the thresholds.
Okay, great. All right, and some of these questions, we might just repeating information, but that way everybody feels their question got answered. Is there a temperature range that is quote-unquote patent?
The only, I guess right now, the only patent I know temperature range doesn't include one. What we did in our settlement is to create a clearly defined temperature threshold where our members could operate safely and not worry about infringing on the ThermaPure A12 patents. In addition, we're also stating that if you wish to use temperatures in excess of 105 throughout your structure, that you contact ThermaPure for licensing information.
Okay. How can someone patent already known knowledge on evaporation and heat used to speed up evaporation?
ThermaPure has a valid patent. My understanding, it's been in court, and the U.S. Patent Office issued it. That would be a question for somebody else much smarter than I am.
Okay. When does their patent run out?
I don't know that answer. If Mark Springer, if you're on, or Mark, or anybody else knows, maybe can answer that. But you can Google the A12 patent. I'm sure it has the information, or probably go to ThermaPure's website, and they might even have that on there.
Okay. All right. Now I'm going to move to some of the questions that were put through the question board here. So the first one we have is from Vince. If we have a wet structure, house completely flooded in Michigan this January, we know that drying it at a temperature of 120 degrees is ideal. I'm not trying to kill bugs, just dry effectively and efficiently. How does that affect the patent?
If you're an RIA member and you set your structure as the entire house and you exceed 105 degrees in that entire house, you're outside of our safe harbor agreement. And you as a restorer can choose to dry however you want to. There's nothing that we did that said mandated you to do this. We're offering you the opportunity under a valid patent to dry safely. So my recommendation would be 105, and I dry all day and night at temperatures far less than that in the state of Michigan. So it's just the patented. That's our agreement. you can choose to either accept it and use it or go outside of it. There's nothing forcing anybody to do this.
Okay. And why 105 degrees and not 110 or 115?
That was negotiated amount, the negotiated temperature. I think when we went in, obviously, we went in and I had several people advising me on this, that we wanted 115, 120, 130. After some negotiation, we settled at the 105. And 105 seems to us as a fair number because of the amount of equipment and the amount of money that most of us put into our equipment. It's not rated unless you have specialty stuff over that 105 anyways.
Okay, thank you. A question from Ernie. My portable furnaces put out almost 200 degrees. Does that put me in jeopardy?
One of the key negotiation points when David and I were talking is that there's absolutely no way that the RIA would be able to settle, because any piece of equipment can generate a lot of heat, as it's discharged into the atmosphere, the ambient air. So it was a key factor in getting to this settlement is that just like when somebody is trying to sanitize a structure, all areas that they're trying to sanitize have to be brought to a certain temperature. The heat unit that's bringing the heat up for sanitization, it doesn't matter if the output is over that temperature. It really has to get everywhere. So the 200 degrees, monitor your air and make sure the entire treatable area, the structure, does not exceed that 105. But it's a very basic fact that there's no way we could have settled this if it was measured right out of a machine.
Okay. A question from William. Will current legal actions against RIA members be dismissed, and if so, when?
I don't know of any legal action against RIA members. If anybody has a legal action against them, please email me. Okay. Or email Mark Savatelli. Mark will give you the email afterwards, or I think mine's published. Mm-hmm. And we can definitely make a phone call.
Great. A question from Steve. And how does this affect in-plant run cleaning companies with heated dry rooms?
I don't think it does. I will have, I think it's two different things we're talking about. One's the sanitization of structures and drying structures. The other one is an in-plant drying process that I do not think would not be applicable to this settlement or the patent. But I would check with your attorney locally just to make sure.
Okay, great. Next question. When do you plan to share the entire settlement document with RIA?
We already have, I think. I believe it was published. If Mark's on the phone and you haven't gotten it, send a quick email to the RIA link that'll come up shortly. Mark will put his email up there and we can get it to you, but it's a public document.
It is actually available on RIA's website currently. Again, all you'll need to do is to click on the Patent Settlement tab at the top of RIA's web page, and it'll take you right to the patent settlement page we have set up. The settlement agreement in its entirety is available on that page.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Is there a reason you have not spoke to item number 5, notice of infringement? If RIA receives notice from ThermaPure that one of its members infringed, RIA agrees to convene a 3-member panel to request temperature records from that member for prior 2 years and to provide those records to ThermaPure.
I guess I just didn't mention it because I forgot it. So item number 5, the reason we asked for 2 years and we had the, I believe it's a 7-year required documentation if you're served with subpoena, was that when ThermaPure had a question about one of our members, that they would come to RIA. RIA would go to that member and notify him that there's been question of possible infringement if they could send over their records. At that point in time, the member can choose to A, tell RIA, sorry, I'll hand it myself, or B, send us over your records. The RIA will, at that point in time, convene an independent panel of members to review those documents and present basically an opinion to ThermaPure with the documents and then back to the member. The object is to try to, if there was a problem or there could be a problem, there was a misunderstanding, that it could be settled before legal filings and expenses.
Okay. Question from Jay. How are we expected to utilize and market our test unit systems without violating the terms of the settlement? In the past, we've been able to market a quicker dry out because of the heat drying.
That would be something that you would have to sit down with your manufacturer, your patent attorneys, your attorneys, and clarify that for yourself. As a manufacturer, you wouldn't be included in this safe harbor, but as your, if any of your test users are using the system, they would be able to take advantage of the safe harbor. But as far as how it affects a particular piece of equipment, as I stated earlier, we do not recommend you do not use anything. We're recommending that this is, or letting everybody know this is your safe harbor, and anything outside of that, we believe you talk to your attorney, your patent attorney, or contact ThermaPure for information.
Okay, thank you. A question from Darren. It seems as if prior to the settlement, one had to be in violation of multiple or all elements of the so-called patent. With the new safe harbor, if a structure heats to 106 degrees with no other elements, such as multiple sensors, etc., are we in violation?
That would be a question for your attorney, for yourself. It was our intent with this settlement to make it very clear that not only that you would be protected from the potential of being served and the expense of being served, so you could find out how right you were or how wrong you were, and before you went to actual trials, if you were infringing. The object is to let our members operate on a daily basis, knowing or not fearing the possibility of being put to, hiring patent attorneys and, producing information to justify what they do every day. That the expense on that is time, it's money, it's worry, and we felt that presenting or negotiating the safe harbor would give our members the opportunity to just put this one behind them and, adjust their operations slightly, but that it would really not affect the drying business with an RIA member if they choose to take that.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. We actually have quite a few more questions. This one comes from Jason. If equipment not designed to heat the air or exterior conditions cause the temperature in the structure to exceed 105 degrees, this is incidental. Is this an issue?
For everybody on the phone call, the RIA settlement states that ambient air within a structure. That means you define the structure, you define what's wet in your drying scheme, in your contained area, in your floor. That temperature in that entire structure, that means as I walk around that structure, if every point in that structure exceeds the 105, according to our agreement, you are now sanitizing, and we recommend through our best practices is that you either A, turn on your burners, B, take corrective action, and we feel that, again, as I've stated over and over, that this is a reasonable win-win for both parties.
Okay. If we all agree, this question comes from Darren, if we all agree that his patent is for sanitation, why did we stipulate that it covers drying?
The technology, I believe, has changed, and it's the patent itself is applicable, from my understanding, to other areas. I am not an attorney. That would be an attorney question. If you have questions beyond what our settlement is, I mean, I really need you guys to contact your attorneys and talk to them about it. It's a business-to-business choice. We've offered a way to provide peace of mind without spending and becoming a member. If you're not a member, the $875 is peanuts compared to what you'd probably spend if you had to gather all your information and try to defend that fact.
Okay. All right. As an RIA member, I feel we should have fought a lot harder. We aren't killing pests, and ThermaPure is not drying structures. We have two very different goals.
I can appreciate that, and I've heard that in the past. We felt that this was the best direction for RIA. We had this is patent infringement lawsuits. As far as us trying to invalidate it is a very expensive proposition. The RIA spent almost $750,000, and we did not even get to where we would go to court. We felt that going into this, our objective was, and I look back to when our President Sam Bergman convened a legal committee, and this was its first item. The legal committee understood the goal as to achieve a result that would protect RIA members from lawsuits. Invalidation was always a possibility, but the goal of the entire process was to hopefully find some common ground and be able to settle this before the expense and time continued into this patent issue so that we could focus on other issues within the industry. We are quite pleased with this settlement. It would have cost us, prior to appeals, a minimum of $500,000 or more, and there's no guarantees.
A comment from Scott Warrington. This is a good settlement for RIA and RIA members. RIA members are protected, and RIA will likely gain new members. It does little to help many restorers who are not RIA members. I wish there had been better financial support from other segments of the industry so that an industry-wide settlement could have been reached.
Shall I say I agree? I approached, begged many different segments of the industry, and we had a lot of very generous members, that gave, quite a bit of money to support this. The RIA itself still has a balance to our legal fees. We're not able to raise all the money we needed, and now that the settlement's happened, we've dried up. So those who do appreciate this settlement, please, the RILF is still active and operating, and we do still need support.
From Dave Hanks, most sanitation takes place at 120 plus degrees for a period of time. Why would you settle at 105 degrees? It seems ambiguous.
Settlement's a two-way street, especially mediation. We had to find something that we could agree upon. It seemed like a natural no-brainer at the 105, particularly with the manufacturer's specs and recommendations on heat for motors in most of our equipment. Would we have liked to have gotten it 115 or 120? Sure, we would still been in court right now. So we settled what we felt was a very reasonable temperature. I guess the definition of a win-win is some people, not everybody's happy on either side. So we move forward, and we do the best we can to take upon this issue and move away from it and get back to the business of selling our services and drying structures.
Okay. Due to the fact that RIA has stated 105 as a threshold, do you understand that this expands ThermaPure's current lawsuit rather than limits?
I would disagree with that, because at this present time there is no definition of what the temperature is. It simply states, again, this is my understanding, I'm not an attorney, that any increase. So you could increase from 90 to 92 degrees. If you're not part of the safe harbor, I'm sure there's something that dies at 92 degrees. So I'd be careful on thinking that it defined a temperature. That was our goal. We wanted to define a temperature so that we knew how we could safely operate.
Okay. And how will our drying records get into the hands of ThermaPure? I do not believe that sharing these records is a requirement for membership to RIA.
You don't have to share your records with us. The settlement simply states that if there is if ThermaPure thinks that you are infringing, that they will come to the RIA and state that fact, and the RIA will request and recommend that you submit your documents to the RIA so that we can review and act as a middleman in the process.
Mm-hmm.
The point is, though, is that you don't have to do any of that. It's 100% your choice. It's your company, your legal team. If you're approached or we approach you with patent issues, it's going to be a decision you make. We're not forcing you. I don't want to see your drawing records. The only time that we would ever approach you is if there's been a complaint or we've received notification from ThermaPure that they feel one of our members is infringing.
Okay. How have other companies resolved the lawsuit exampled by ServPro? Are they under the same proposal we are?
I do not know the settlement with ServPro. I think that would be better if Sally would ask ServPro that. Nor I think I know that there's been settlements, but I'm not privy to what exactly those are.
Okay. Do you think the RIA members are not able to dry as effectively and efficiently due to this temperature limitation?
During this whole process, particularly the settlement process, I had probably 3 or 4 of the best, what I considered to be, some of the top guys who can dry scientifically, and they were, they did not state to me, nobody's going to be able to dry.
Okay. Is it clear that temperature is one key factor in drying? Does ThermaPure believe they have a patent on drying structures at above 105 degrees?
Any temperature in the ambient air of a defined structure that exceeds 105 will be outside of our safe harbor agreement. If you have a question on whether or not you can safely do that without infringing, give ThermaPure David a call and simply talk to him.
Okay. Question from John. If the patent covers sanitation, why did RIA enter into an agreement on drying that limits contractors' ability to use heat to dry?
I think I answered that in prior ones.
Okay.
Just to repeat, there are several factors of this patent that could really be infringed upon, and people were being served. Members were stating we needed to do something, and we defined it so that it's not so ambiguous, and you're not being served something for you just feel you're doing your everyday job, doing what you've been taught. What we've done is created a safe harbor so that the 105 threshold within that structure, you're safe. If you go beyond it, we ask you to call ThermaPure and make your own decisions on that.
Okay. Do you have to be an RIA member to receive the settlement document on the website?
We have not limited it to members, so I believe at this time they're open to anyone that wants to take a look at them. We encourage you to, but I want to remind everyone this is a settlement for RIA members. It does not include anyone outside the RIA envelope.
Okay. A question from Michael. Is ThermaPure going to stop going after RIA members arbitrarily with lawsuits, or should members still be afraid of being subpoenaed randomly?
One of the primary goals of why we did this lawsuit in the first place, and when we answered our question that we started out with, is giving members comfort and a level of protection. I would state that there should not be any harassment for RIA members. Operating without fear was a very big discussion between David Hedman, ThermaPure, and myself, is that we needed to remove the fear of doing what we do every single day. And that's what we did for RIA members. There's no more, oh, am I going to get sued from this person? All I do is do this. All I do is do that. Operate within the safe harbor, be an RIA member, and that's why we're calling it the safe harbor. Go outside of that, and, you can choose to. But, RIA member or not, you'd be on your own.
Okay. One member commented, a patent, and member of the audience, the patent is not applicable to drying, never has been, and never will be. Would you like to comment to that, Scott?
look at court filings, and you tell me if there was a risk or not.
Mm-hmm. Same person. I'm sorry, the screen moved. He believes that you'll be safer without the membership rather than with it.
Everybody is entitled to their own opinion, and can basically operate how they so choose. I mean, it's a great thing about being in business in the United States, is that everybody can make their own decisions, look at the risks, and weigh that. I'm a firm believer that my operation, it has taken that fear out of that, because in the back of my mind, when I heard somebody else I know got served with a subpoena, and basically the world came crashing because they thought, oh my Lord, how am I going to come up with this money to answer these questions, and an attorney and this and that. The $875 that you would pay to RIA, in fact, RIA is expanding some of its member benefits so that it's going to cost you next to nothing to be an RIA member if you take advantage of the benefits we're going to begin offering. I've got something in front of the board that I'm hoping to get approved in 2 weeks that's going to make that membership much more valuable. So besides the safe harbor, besides the new benefits, besides joining an organization that is looking out for its members, looking out at legal issues, looking out at legislative issues, and frankly having a voice for an industry, it is so important that we do that and volunteer your time. Everybody is open to their own opinion. My opinion is that the RIA did the right thing, that they worked hard and conquered its objective, and we're very happy. And we'd welcome new members, but if you don't, that's your choice.
Okay. Question from Michael. So if one room in a drying structure is at 104 degrees and the other room is at 120 degrees, are we in violation of the patent?
Our operational guidelines clearly define that, and I'll refer you to those operational guidelines that are on our website. So due to time, I'll go ahead and just let you look at that. I think I've been very clear on the 105 threshold in defining your structure in the ambient air.
Okay. A question from Darren. Understandable that you would not have the terms of the ServPro settlement. How does this settlement compare to the DKI settlement?
That was done DKI corporate. It was 2 different settlements, and without disclosing it, I think I would state that I think our settlement is very, very fair.
Okay. All right. That actually is the majority of the questions, and we're actually running at the end. Scott and Mark Springer is also on the line, I believe. Any wrap-up comments for our audience?
Mark, I thought you were going to talk, so do you want to wrap it up, or you want me to?
No, I'd be happy to wrap this up.
No, Mark, I was talking about the other Mark, sorry.
Mark Springer.
It sounds like Mark Silvatelli is ready to begin wrapping, though, so I don't want to steal his thunder, but I just agree with what Scott has already said. I think that the bottom line is that this was a settlement where a tremendous amount of hard work went into completing this, and the outcome of this is very positive for RIA members, gives them tremendous safety, and gives them a tremendous reason to be a member if they already haven't taken advantage of the many benefits that RIA offers.
And I would say, before I'll turn it over to Mark, is that thank you very much for the questions. Do encourage you to read not only the settlement, but our safe harbor best practices that are up on our website. If you're going to be using heat, there is a patent out there. That patent is patent 812, and I encourage you to contact ThermaPure and ask questions. This company has been very easy to work with over the last few months, and you may have your own opinions, as I did going into it, but I found that open discussion before you involve yourself in any issues, it's always best to discuss it first. But I encourage everyone on this phone call to seriously look at the safe harbor and RIA as an organization that needs your help and support. Mark?
Well, anyway, just want to say thank you for everybody for attending today and for all of the detailed questions. Obviously, there are quite a bit of questions out there. We hope that today's session provides you with some more information about the settlement and how it pertains to your business. As you've heard on a couple of occasions, our website does have a lot of the information that we've discussed today. It is open to the public so that both members and non-members can access that information. It includes the entire settlement, the operating guidelines that Scott has mentioned, as well as FAQs about the settlement between RIA and ThermaPure. If you or somebody else that you know who was unable to attend today would like to listen to this, we will be posting a copy of today's session on our website as well. I would encourage you to visit back within the next day or two to be able to access that. And again, as you see on the screen, please feel free to contact me at the email address on your screen. Be more than happy to answer any additional questions that you have and to provide you with any information that we can to give you a deeper understanding of the settlement between RIA and ThermaPure. Unless there are any last-minute questions, I just want to say on behalf of the RIA leadership, we truly appreciate you taking the time today to learn more about this settlement, and most importantly, to participate in the process to be able to ask the questions that you had. We look forward to serving you in any other way, and unless there are any other questions, we appreciate your time today and wish you all a great day.